Hello again, and welcome to In Taiwan We Speak, your audio guide to Taiwan's mind-blowing linguistic diversity. I am Alexander Shin, and this is the last part of our conversation with Eva Tsao, an educator and YouTube host from the Matsu Islands. Now, Eva, several years ago, the Matsu dialect of Eastern Min was introduced into primary and junior high school curricula in Matsu. Now, in your opinion, as an educator and as a teacher of this language, what benefits has this change brought to this language and to the speaking community and the speaking environment on the islands?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things that happened when the Matsu dialect got added into the school a few years ago is that it just became more visible. Before that, people kind of thought of it as something your grandparents speak at home, not something you'd actually learn in school. But now kids can learn it in a more structured way, from elementary to high school, which is a big step. I'm not someone who started out as a teacher. I only got into teaching in the last few years. So my perspective is more like a learner who slowly got involved and started paying attention to how things were changing. I remember once interviewing a principal who was working on the books back then. At that time, Matsu dialect wasn't officially recognized as a national language yet, and the only materials available were for little kids. But now the textbooks are officially made by the Ministry of Education and the age range has expanded, which is super important for keeping the language alive. What's kind of cool is that even some students in Taiwan, not just in Matsu, have shown interest in learning the language, even though it's still a really small number. Yeah, I've done both live stream classes and in-person teaching, and I think if we could use the materials a bit more flexible and adapted to different learners, it would be even better. But overall, just having the classes makes a big difference. It helps people see that the language is alive, interesting, and worth exploring. Yeah.
So we know that in northern Taiwan, there are actually clusters of migrants from Matsu Islands, especially in Taoyuan and in New Taipei, in the capital area. Is there a demand for Matsu language classes among these populations?
In Taoyuan.
In Taoyuan or in New Taipei?
In Taoyuan. So my class in-person teaching is in Taoyuan.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
So these people are actually originally from Matsu and now they're trying to learn?
No. But their teacher, Bandao, their teacher is from Matsu, but the students are not.
They're just very curious about the Matsu Hua.
Yes.
Oh, wow. That's very interesting.
Interesting.
Now, when we talk about schooling, classes, curriculum, education in general, what do you think is the main challenge of educating people about the Matsu dialect and teaching this language on the islands?
So for me, the hardest part isn't really about how to teach or how to make the materials. It's actually people. So, some people from Matsu themselves, they are definitely those who are supportive. But sometimes you also hear things like, you young people don't speak it properly. It's not the Fuzhou dialect. Or they will say, come on, the Matsu language doesn't get as much attention or respect as Taiwanese or Hakka. So what's the point of learning it? It kind feels like for some folks, there are always more problems than solutions. But I think it really comes down to cultural confidence. If we ourselves don't believe in the value of our language, it's hard to expect others to care. There's also the issue of resources. To be honest, there really aren't that many Matsu learning tools out there, especially digital ones. A lot of online dictionaries don't even have audio, so which makes it pretty frustrating for beginners. When I was learning, I often had to ask elders or re-listen to recordings over and over. It's definitely not a just Google it and you are good kind of language. So yeah, there's still a lot of work to be done.
And you did mention that you were once a student, but now you are actually a government certified teacher of Matsu. What techniques and methods as a teacher do you use to promote Matsu learning among children, but also adults that attend your class?
I think no matter what language you are teaching, the most important thing is how do you spark the students' interest? Sometimes I feel like people overthink this is a super academic way. Like they will say, what's the point of learning a dialect? Isn't it better to focus on Mandarin or focus on English? But to me, it's not the question. Yeah. And actually, there's research showing that learning multiple language can boost brain function. So in my classes, I always consider the student's age, background knowledge, and how familiar they are with the Matsu language. Then I design lessons using topics they are already interested in and include different elements like features, sounds, and hands-on activities to help them really use the language. For example, in one elementary school unit, in Taoyuan, and I use the school fair as a thing. We practice how to order food and buy things using Matsu language. Students learn the names of snakes and how to have conversations at a food store. They had fun with it, and it didn't feel like memorizing vocabulary. It feels real and useful.
You did previously mention that Matsu is sort of your way of reconnecting with elders, but also sort of accessing the past of the islands and of your family. But do you also think that there's a way for Matsu to bring young people together and be, a language of the new generation?
That's a great question. Like I said earlier, I started learning Matsu not for any big project. It was because I wanted to talk with the elders. I thought if I could speak their language, I could keep them company, make their days less lonely, and help them revisit their memories. I didn't want them to feel like they are no longer needed just because they are getting older. I simply wanted their story to be heard. Of course, the journey also helped me connect more deeply with Matsu culture, things you can't look up online or learn from books. Now with young people, the connection feels totally different. I think it's a sense of mission that brings us together. We all care about different things, but language happens to be our common ground. Sometimes friends will share things they have discovered when promoting language, and it makes me happy. And when I share something I have created, like a comic or a song, like daily life, the encouragement and the compliments they gave me really touch me. I don't usually have much confidence in my own work, but through their words, I start to feel like maybe what I made really means something, like it has a place. That kind of mutual support and emotion connection, it feels really warm and meaningful.
So what do you think the future holds for this language? How optimistic are you about its future?
That's a tough one. I wish I had a clear answer, but honestly, I don't. The truth is, the number of people who speak Matsu is really small, and the pace at which young people are learning it probably isn't fast enough to keep up with the aging population. So looking far into the future, it seems like fewer and fewer people will speak it. But sometimes I try to look at it differently. I imagine the language as a forest. Maybe in the past it was fast and dense, but over time it shrunk. Still, that doesn't mean it has to disappear completely. If we keep planting seeds, like creating dictionaries, building online audio resources, making videos, comics, and songs, maybe we are giving that forest a way to regenerate. I don't know, maybe that sounds too romantic, but in today's world, we actually can document and share a language in so many forms. It's not just about saving it, it's about letting it live on in new ways. And if we keep doing that, maybe there is still hope for the future of Matsu.
Language as a living forest.
Yeah.
Such a beautiful metaphor from our today's guest, Eva Tsao, host of 茶米呀店. Thank you so much, Eva, for being with us throughout these 3 episodes.
Thank you for inviting me.
And dear listeners, thank you for being with us. If you've enjoyed our series about Matsu and its speaking community, as well as the wonderful islands that they represent, then please give us some boost on social media, and don't forget to recommend this program to your friends. And of course, do come back next week for another one of Taiwan's fascinating languages. Once again, this was In Taiwan We Speak. I was Oleg, and thank you for listening.